Training camp is a time of eternal optimism and hope for all 32 NFL teams, even if between you and me, we know that 31 of them don't really have a shot. This is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs year. This is the fourth video in this series talking about training camp darlings for the Kansas City Chiefs. We've already gone over offensive linemen, defensive linemen, running backs, and linebackers. This is the fifth video in this series. It can be found in the 2025 offseason playlist here on the channel, where I have talked about all sorts of things, everything so far this Chiefs preseason. And today is maybe not my favorite of these videos because the wide receiver video is going to be very, very exciting. And the linebacker and offensive line videos were just jam-packed with actual NFL guys. But the training camp darlings for the defensive backs, this is a four-man list. And guys, I think all four of these players are NFL players. When you talk about training camp darlings, with the exception of Leo Chanel on this list, usually what you're talking about are guys that may or may not make the roster. And if they do make the roster, you called it, you know you called it, and you saw him as an NFL player before anybody else did. And someday he will obviously be a Pro Bowler and eventually a Hall of Famer. That's what training camp darlings are all about. I think these are four NFL guys, three of whom were UDFA this season, one of whom was a UDFA in 2023. Now let's get into it. Glendon Miller, the free safety out of Maryland. There is an entire video on Glendon Miller here on the channel, so if you want to dive deeper on Glendon Miller, feel free to find that video. It's in the 2025 NFL Draft Picks playlist, even though he was UDFA. An RAS of 9.26, 32 and a quarter inch arms, 6'2" and 7/10 inches, basically 6'3" tall. Very, very tall, very, very lengthy up here with the arm length, very, very rangy type of safety. Rangy, not scroungy. Scroungy was yesterday with the linebackers, 207 pounds, so his size is incredible. 15 reps on the bench press, a 38-inch vertical leap at that size. Not so great on the broad jump, 9 foot 10 inches. That is a score of only 4.34 out of 10. And then you get to his speed numbers, and these are places where you would think maybe he would struggle a little bit being a plus size safety, but that is not so. A 4.45 40-yard dash is a 9.3 score. A 20-yard split of 2.51 is in the 98th percentile, a 9.81 score. I don't know why I can't talk right now. And a very respectable 10-yard split of 1.56. Then you look at the agility scores, and frankly, this is where Glendon Miller got knocked a little bit in the pre-draft sort of scouting areas. People said they didn't think that he had good hips, etc. And by no means is he a perfect specimen in these categories, the agility grades, but he's decent enough. I mean, a 4.25 short shuttle scores a 6.76 out of 10, and a 7.09 three-cone drill scores a 5.39 out of 10. Those are acceptable numbers, definitely acceptable numbers. Probably, in my opinion, Glendon Miller has the best chance of this group to be this year's Christian Roland Wallace, a guy who goes undrafted and ends up playing reps for the Chiefs as a UDFA. I could see Glendon Miller getting actual meaningful reps this year. He is a real football player. I think that this is absolutely an NFL player. I don't think he's going to be on a practice squad this year. What do I mean by that? Well, if the Chiefs don't end up having space for him on their 53 and they cut him, try to pass him through waivers and sign him to the practice squad, I think it's possible, maybe even probable, someone plucks him off of the waiver wire, especially after the Chiefs see what it is that he can do in the preseason. I think that this is an NFL guy. I think that he just did not get drafted. Justin Reed last year took 974 snaps, and this season they are not there for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Deion Bush is always towards the bottom end of the roster, though he always makes the roster. And he played 10 snaps of defense last year. So that is sort of the clay with which the safeties who are currently on the roster will be molding their respective snap counts this season. And, how many of those 974 snaps might go Glendon Miller's way? I think it's possible that Glendon Miller gets in the 100 rep range as a UDFA. Doesn't sound impressive, but it would mean multiple reps per game. Watching him on film, the agility scores are surprising. So I said that he got knocked there from the scouting services, right? People talking in the pre-draft process, talking about who was Glendon Miller. He got knocked there a little bit, and it is surprising to see him put up those scores. But I don't know if it's more because he looks like a straight line athlete, or because you're just not seeing it on film. Like it could be a matter of technique that gets him over the hump, because in the pre-draft process, he would have been absolutely coached on how to run those drills to get the best time. It could be a matter of getting the right coaching to open your hips up on the field as opposed to just in this short shuttle drill. Then we move on to Darius Rush. 6'1" and 7/10. This is a cornerback, by the way. So for these numbers, just keep that in mind. 6'1" and 7/10, basically 6 feet 2 inches tall, 198 pounds, 33 and 3/8 inch arms. 33 and 3/8 inch arms on a 6'2" cornerback. By the sound of things, this is your prototypical Spagnuolo corner. And indeed, this is his second stint with the Chiefs. There's something there that they like or would like to tease out of Darius Rush. 35-inch vertical is decent, 10-foot 1-inch broad jump is decent, but then you get to the speed numbers where he had a 4.36 40-yard dash at 6'2", 200 pounds, a 2.52 20-yard split, and a 1.49 10-yard split. Absolutely incredible athlete. This may be, so here's the thing. Yesterday, in the video about linebackers, I talked about Brandon George and how he's not really, at this point, the best player at the sport of football. But golly, is he a great athlete. If you get him out there on special teams, maybe you don't need a linebacker. Maybe you just need an athlete. That might be where Darius Rush is able to make his mark. He might be the cornerback equivalent of Brandon George at linebacker. If you don't need him for defensive reps, and guys, I don't think the Chiefs do, he could absolutely be a killer special teamer. So that might be where he makes his mark. Imagine a gunner who is 6'2", 200 pounds with 4.36 speed and has 33 and 3/8 inch arms. Then we have the fact that he's never stuck anywhere at cornerback, having spent time with the Colts, Chiefs, Steelers, and now the Chiefs again, having only come into the league in 2023 as a fifth-round pick. But the tools there are just so tantalizing that when there's not too much going on, like when he's able to just, hey, here's your assignment, he can do it, and he can be disruptive. The thing I want to see Darius Rush at safety. I want to see him out there at safety, lining up as a, I think he can be a strong safety. I do think that he has the tenacity for that. If you can figure out a way to keep him out there at free safety at 6'2", 200 pounds with 33 and 3/8 inch arms, if you can teach him that playbook, it might behoove you. Notably, he did not, if we go back up here, do the agility drills. So was he hiding something? I don't know. He is a straight line athlete guy. I didn't notice him really being sort of I didn't notice any type of hindrance with him opening his hips or anything like that, but that might just be because he was not in the NFL playing NFL caliber guys. I don't know. Then we have the third of these four, possibly my favorite, Melvin Smith Jr., an RAS of 8.44, 5'10", basically 5'10 and a half, 190 pounds, 13 reps on the bench press, a 38.5-inch vertical, a 10-foot broad jump, a 4.39 40-yard dash with a 2.52 20-yard split, and a 1.49 10-yard split. A 1.49 10-yard split. A 4.19 short shuttle, and a 7.133 cone drill. Now, guys, I have to go someplace emotional here. The first place we're going to go with why Melvin Smith should be a training camp darling has nothing to do with his football play on the field. I have to come to you with complete honesty. Even though Melvin Smith is not terribly small, 5'10", he reminds me of Mark McMillan. Mighty Mouse himself. I will invoke the name. So I hope he makes the team. I just want him to I don't know what it is. There is something about watching him play that reminds me so much of Mark McMillan that everything inside me wants him to make this team. Elite 40-yard dash at 4.39, elite 10-yard split at 1.49, and an elite vertical at 38.5 inches. But when you watch him, the thing that absolutely pops out on the screen, and this is very promising, is his reaction time. The way he reacts to the ball the moment the quarterback releases it, the moment he reacts to the ball, the moment he gets his head around, and he's able to get a hand up there. Very, very fast reaction times. This suggests to me that with solid coaching, he could really be something. If he has that type of reaction time, imagine if he saw the play coming before it developed. Right? So coaching will get you to the place where you know what play is coming 50% of the time, 60% of the time. Elite coaching, and you're there 70% of the time, then you just have to execute. Well, if he has this incredible reaction time, what could he be if he didn't have to react? Now, something worth thinking about with the corners here. There are 3 corners on this list. The cornerbacks played 2,515 snaps last year. Listed cornerbacks played 2,515 snaps last season. Nick Jones played only 9 snaps of special teams. 0 defense. His spot on this roster could very well be up for grabs. His spot on the roster may have been made up for grabs by Christian Roland Wallace, who is on those lists listed as a cornerback. So if there's 2,515 snaps, there might be some leeway for somebody to make this roster, especially if we do see the Chiefs move on from Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, or Jalen Watson this preseason. Remember, Bret Veach loves to roll them bones. And those players are all on the final year of their contract. They play a very high leverage position in the NFL, and they have all played meaningful snaps. So it is possible Bret Veach, who has traded away a little bit of draft capital the past couple of years, decides to try to make it up by trading away one of those guys. I think Smith is a prime candidate for the practice squad. a special teams guy next year, and a defensive contributor in year 3. That kind of looks like his projection. Then we get to Kevin Knowles, maybe one of the most interesting cases on this list, but not maybe one of the most interesting, but not the most compelling. I'll put it that way. A 702 RAS, which is the lowest on this list, but where he loses a lot of space is in that height, weight, bench category. How important are those for you at cornerback, especially if you've got that 41-inch vertical? 5'9.5", basically 5'10", 190 pounds, 12 reps on the bench press, a 41-inch vertical, a 10'6" broad jump, a 40-yard dash of 4.48, a 10-yard split of 1.57, a short shuttle number of 4.27, and a 3-cone drill of 7.05. Now, it is notable that he is the smallest corner on this list. But why is that notable? It may seem that that's notable because, well, Spags likes bigger type corners. But that would be too simple. Spags does like bigger type corners. So why did they sign this guy? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Knowles is an interesting case. You can absolutely see the explosion that allowed him to jump 41 inches, and he does have fluid hips. And if he were 5'11", 200, I believe he would have been drafted. But it seems sometimes something isn't clicking for Knowles, and that might, and this is not the most kosher thing to say from someone who tries to be a sort of bipartisan observer of college football. It might just be the FSU factor. A lot. Florida State guys underachieve in college. Hey, I've never been to Tallahassee. I imagine I would have trouble focusing too. But that seems to be the case. That there might be a disconnect between Florida State and the NFL potential of their prospects. So maybe he overperforms in the NFL. He is a smart player who broke up screens and was used in the pass rush. While Miller is more ready-made, and I like Smith better, and I even like Rush better, Knowles plays more like a Spags cornerback. He is aggressive. He is very in your face. He does not have the size for that, but he does it anyway. That is why I say that might be why the Chiefs are putzing around with a 5'9" cornerback when they don't really like corners who are too short for them. The Chiefs might keep Knowles off the roster this year. Their depth might keep Knowles off the roster this year, but his floor is being on someone's practice squad. So if the Chiefs cut him, someone is signing him. If the Chiefs try to sneak him to their practice squad, depending on what he shows in the preseason, it's possible that all season long he is at risk of being poached off. I don't know that anyone would poach him from a practice squad simply because you've got the guys that are in your system. He might not be tantalizing enough of an athlete that poaching him off of someone else's practice squad to move him to your 53 is worth it. But like I said, I think the practice squad is the absolute floor for him this season. So looking at these players, something that stands out is that these are 4 guys who I think are training camp darlings for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think all 4 of them are NFL guys. One of them has been an NFL guy for 2 seasons now, Darius Rush. So 9.26 RAS, 9.81 RAS, 8.44 RAS. 3 of these guys are absolutely phenomenal athletes. Then you have Knowles, who again stands out because he's undersized. He's not particularly a great athlete, although height does get factored into it. That brings his score down a little bit. So almost it's almost double jeopardy, saying that he's not he's short and he has the lowest RAS. But I think that all 4 of these guys end up on some type of NFL football team this season, whether that's a practice squad, whether that's someone else's 53, whether that's the Chiefs' 53. The interesting thing is that the Chiefs have so much depth at cornerback right now anyway. I think they have a budding star at the safety position. So when you look at that trio, I don't even feel good calling it a trio because I think that Jalen Watson has stood out beyond those other guys. But you look at Joshua Williams and you look at Najee Johnson. How much does their experience save them versus the promise of one of these other guys? You have Darius Rush. If you're the 5th corner, are you really going to play all that much defense? If you're the 5th corner, Najee Johnson, are you really going to be playing face up on another team's number 1 wide receiver? Then why do we necessarily have to keep Najee Johnson because of his experience when we have a promising athlete like Darius Rush on the team? So those are questions I think that will be asked. Well, obviously they'll be asked sooner than later. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.